join us shortly, but
Can I interrupt for a
Nothing,
moment? And can I have the floor for a minute?
Robert's
Which will give Pat another minute to come in.
what would you like to discuss?
I have something I want to share with the committee.
What would that be? Well, there's nothing on the
It's not
agenda,
on the
and you
agenda,
and I
so,
haven't spoken,
Well,
so I'm
this is
just
before the
curious.
meeting, so the meeting hasn't started.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Sure, yeah, okay, we haven't started the meeting yet.
Okay, so I wanted everyone to know, last Monday night after our meeting, the chairman informed me that I was very disrespectful to him. He would not tolerate it. If it happened in the future, he would call me out on it and he'd remove me from the meeting. I had no idea of which he was speaking, and when I asked him, let me bring you back to Monday night's meeting. There was a conversation going on, and Mark was doing kind of a background for the new members as to what prison mitigation was all about. When Mark finished, I, at that point, commented that that is why prison mitigation money would never be used within our budget as it's one-time money. That is what the chairman found fault that I was disrespectful about. I'm a senior citizen, I can't change that, I'm a woman. I am not a fragile flower that's gonna melt when I get bullied and threatened. So I definitely felt it was inappropriate, and I will not tolerate being bullied and threatened by someone else. And for the record, he cannot remove me from any meeting unless I physically threaten him. So fast forward to the marathon on Thursday night. There were a lot of things that went on Thursday night that I wasn't particularly proud to be part of the board with. That's some of the comments that were made by our chair. Specifically, the fields, and when he started out with his belligerent comments about the poor conditions of the field, and he did preface his remarks by saying that he had been a coach with his children on the field. So as the way I looked at it, considering he's had personal contact with
All right,
this-
so point of order, this is turning into somewhat of a personal soliloquy to me, and so I don't think it's appropriate at this time. It's not on the agenda. So we're going to move on and open the meeting and get to the business. I will say, what I indicated in my comments to you, that we're going to conduct our meetings with appropriate professionalism and respect, and that there shouldn't be any personal attacks. And I felt that a sidebar comment that you had made when you didn't have the floor was certainly directed to me as a personal attack. So I just wanted to clarify that we're going to conduct our meetings in order. You only speak when you have the floor, and we'll try and resist personal attacks. So we appreciate your point of view on the meetings and how they've gone, but I don't see any point of continuing this discussion. So with quorum being present, we're going to call the meeting to order, and we're going to address our agenda items.
John,
Yes.
thank you for recognizing me. Although I do want to get to the agenda also, I feel that it's important for all of us to have heard what Josette said, and for you to acknowledge that if you perceive someone as disrespectful, even if they were, which I heard the comment, it was not disrespectful, it was intended to be clarifying, you don't threaten people that you're gonna have them removed from the meeting. I think that's inappropriate in the extreme, and I think that you really owe Lizette an apology for that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I don't believe that I said that she would be removed from the meeting, and again, memories are not absolute. I indicated that I wouldn't tolerate that type of behavior going forward. And again, if I came across as heavy-handed and inappropriate, I apologize for that. The ultimate goal was to clarify that the rules of how we'll conduct our business and how we'll communicate and respect the Robert's Rules of Order, and that's it. So again, I apologize if I came across that way. There was no intent to bully. I really reject that type of characterization. Again, I'd like to move forward and open the agenda. All right, so there being a quorum present, let's move on to opening the agenda meeting and get to our agenda items. Following up a little bit on the conduct of the meeting and the rules, let me just say, I'm the new chairman. I've been on this committee. This is my third year. There wasn't, I don't recall any training specifically in how the meetings are to be conducted with respect to motions and votes and so forth. You know, you've learned by observing and maybe, talking to other committees over the years. But I thought it was a question worth addressing. Laura had asked the question as well about what is the voting procedures. So my understanding here, and we can open this up for others that have been on the committee longer and have a little bit more history in terms of how the committee operates, but generally we follow Robert's Rules of Orders. Our job is to address all of the warrant articles that are placed in front of us. I happen to believe that if this committee votes to amend a particular article, that we have the power to do that. But generally, we operate a somewhat relaxed version of Robert's Rules of Orders. We don't move the question, we simply just make a motion for favorable action. But in my view, if enough members want to continue to debate a question or a motion, we're going to entertain that and enforce the 2/3 majority that's generally required to vote on something if there's enough debate still continuing. That's my view generally. Certainly take other comments of those that have been around longer than myself to comment and give us your point of view. And certainly, Susan?
So I think it's good that we have this discussion because I think there was a lot of confusion, or it has been the last couple of meetings. My understanding of Robert's Rules of Order, you can buy a booklet to read up on it, and over the years, I've done just that. I'm not an expert, but my understanding of the way a meeting is run, this is run, the same way at my church, at multiple committee meetings, as Girl Scouts, wherever you go. There, strictly speaking, is not supposed to be any debate unless there's a motion on the floor. Typically, what we do here is we listen to a presentation by someone who has something to say about the article. It's either the proponent or someone purporting to speak about and informing us about the issue in greater depth. Then there can be a motion for favorable action. If there's a second, the motion is on the floor, it's alive, it's debated. It's debated and debated as long as we want to debate it. What I think there was some confusion on last time was this, which sometimes happens at town meeting. There'll be a lot of debate, and some people will get impatient, and so what they will do is call the question. And what they're basically saying is, I don't want to talk about this anymore, I want to vote. In order to cut off debate, there might be 10 or 15 people with their hands up. In order to do that, you're basically cutting off the process. There must be a 2/3 vote to cut off debate. So, that motion cannot be debated. If someone moves the question and there's a second, the town moderator will ask for vote, and it has to be 2/3 of the body in order to move the question. If there's not 2/3, debate goes on. If there is 2/3, debate ends, and there is a vote on the motion that's on the floor. So that is the 2/3 business, and why calling the question requires 2/3, because you're basically saying, we're not going to listen to anybody else on this question. That, I've never had that come up in 7 years on Finance Committee, because typically what's done is we listen to the proponent. Whether there's technically a motion on the floor or not, we debate. At some point there's a motion, the chair generally will say, is there a second? There's a second. Any further question and debate? And sometimes it goes on for another 20 minutes. Other people have questions, we debate among ourselves, and when it all is quiet, I've never seen anyone call the question because there's only 15 of us. When things settle down, the chair will say, anything else? No other hands? He or she will say, The motion before you is X. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Abstain? And that's it. So I think that it's pretty clear cut about the order of business. I think the only thing technically that I've not seen this committee strictly adhere to is the Roberts rule that you can't even debate until there's a motion. I think what we've done is sometimes the proponents, questions of the proponent get mixed in with our debate, and maybe we're a little sloppy with that. But the bottom line is you don't have a vote to have a vote. It's the motion, if it's not seconded, it's dead. But if it's seconded, then, you move ahead with debate, and then there's a vote. The other question I think that comes up is amending. So if there's a motion for favorable action and a second, and let's say, as happened last time, that there is not a majority vote in favor, so then you have no action. You could have someone else say, well, I'm gonna move, now that there's nothing on the floor, no action, to amend the warrant article. I'd like to make a motion to amend it to say, X instead of Y. And then if there's a second to that, that can be debated and voted on. Town meeting, it has to be in writing, you have to run up to the town moderator, it has to be recorded and all that jazz. If you don't have a majority coming out of here, and it has to be a majority, can't be 7-7 as we had with the senior center, it has to be a majority 4, then it is no action at town meeting. So the booklet will read that the finance committee's position is no action going into town meeting, and then town meeting does what it
So
wants.
just point of information on the no action, Susan. Is that analogous to a no vote? Whereas favorable action is a yes vote, no action, if something fails and it's no action,
certainly
isn't that analogous
I
to
think
a
it's-
no vote?
I think that's how it would be perceived.
Right.
Because town meeting as a body would understand that there wasn't a majority. But if
Right.
it's tied, I don't know that you could say it's a
Right.
no vote.
Right, but point of
So-
information,
So the point is, it's just not, you cannot go in and affirmatively say that there's favorable action recommended by finance committee, because there hasn't been.
right, so just a point of information, back to your point, with staying with that same logic, so no action is in essence a no vote. That motion has been, that's been voted on, that's been spoken to.
That's right.
So you moving on to the next item on the agenda,
Right.
not entertaining alternative or amended motions for the motion that just received no action. It's moving on, the vote's been
Well,
taken, and my view would be you move on to the next item on the agenda.
Well, generally speaking, what happens then, when that goes to town meeting, then town meeting can either vote on the original article warrant as is, understanding that there wasn't favorable action, or people can make substitute motions.
Right.
I have seen this body, though, want to propose an amended warrant article, and we've acted on it. So it is possible
Yes.
to do that, but you have to have a motion, a specific motion, and a second.
Right, it's just, so what you're debating is the main motion until a point where someone would make an amended or a substitute motion that gets seconded, if that in fact happens. But generally, yes, the decorum is to debate the motions as it is written on the article and conclude that debate. I think Laura was next, and then
No, I'm all
Paul.
set.
You good? Okay, Paul?
So, but I have a question, really, and I think Mark might answer this for me. So on Article 5, the original was 671, and then I believe John
Moved to
moved
reconsider.
to reconsider,
Right.
because he wanted to do it from borrowing, and then that got nixed. So in the book, how does
Right.
it say
No,
that?
So I think, so if I can jump in here, so we need some opinions on this. The initial article had no action or a no vote. And then we recalled it. So we in essence recalled our vote or negated our
No,
vote.
we didn't do that. We
reconsidered.
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 I'm sorry,
Right,
we
right,
reconsidered it.
right.
Well, and isn't that equivalent to negating our initial
No.
vote?
No.
Okay, so the initial, okay.
So
so the initial
what's
vote-
going to go in the book? Is it
Well,
671?
if
Make
point-
it clear.
I mean, point of information, Mark, again, you've got more wisdom than I. Curious to hear your point of view. I think we certainly want to get advice from either town council or anyone else in a position to
Right.
provide that, and if you are qualified,
I'm not qualified
Okay.
on that one because that's the first time we've actually reconsidered a no vote and tried to substitute something and have the substitution fail.
Right.
So I don't know if that negates everything prior and we're back to square one, or if it reverts to the previous
Does.
standing.
It reverts.
Yeah.
So when
Right,
there's a
so-
move to reconsider, and then the vote is to reconsider it,
Right.
but then that motion fails, you're back to the no action
so
that you
please,
originally
let's,
voted on.
and again, let's
Yeah.
we'll keep it informal, please raise your hand, and we'll go around, one person has the floor.
Yeah, I mean, she's got more of a legal background than I do, but yeah, it makes sense that it reverts to the last previous vote, because we didn't cancel the vote, we just wanted to reconsider it, and we chose not to use the substitute motion. So,
So point of information, clarification, so we're reverting back to the original vote.
671
Right.
of no, basically turning around saying we're not going to act on this article in a favorable fashion.
Right, okay, so that vote stands,
Right.
Right.
okay?
It is a vote, and it's no
Yes.
action.
It's a vote for no action.
It's a vote of no action.
All right.
Again, we'll clarify, and thank you, Susan, for your view, it sounds
Which
reasonable
was
to
in the
me.
book.
It
We'll
goes in the
confirm.
book as no action,
Yeah,
671.
671.
right,
All right, well, I'm just going to say, I mean, can I say something?
of course. You have the floor, Cliff.
Let's have a vote.
I've never known the committee not to take an actual vote for a no action, though, you know?
Say that again?
I've never known the committee, like in a case
Yeah.
like this, not to have a vote on the article. I think part of the charter or the bylaws, it says the finance committee
Right.
should have a vote on every article.
Which we did, 671.
So it'll
we
be
voted
the
against
original
671.
vote.
But that article was, but that vote was not for no action.
It was.
No.
Well,
Well, is
No,
well,
was
it failed,
It failed, so
a
therefore.
vote
So
of
it's-
favorable action.
Right.
right.
I don't
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I see what she's
We'll-
saying.
So, yeah, the
Yeah.
presentation in the book is going to
Right.
sound strange.
What
Susan.
she's saying,
Yes.
Claire is saying, there are times when there's actually a motion for no action.
right,
And then if it's seconded and you vote, then it will say no action.
right.
Because we aren't taking any action.
You're saying to town meeting,
Right.
we don't want you to do anything with
Right.
this warrant article. But in our case, what we're saying is, some of us did, some of us didn't, so you know what, town meeting, you figure it out. So there's no favorable action because we didn't have a majority.
Right.
But it's not strictly a vote for no action, because no one ever made that.
Right.
Right.
We never voted on no
Right.
action. We voted on action, but not enough people wanted it.
Failed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ron and then Tom, I believe.
And Tom's right.
Tom, then Tom,
Get the
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree, it's an odd one, but it just follows the rules, and we just put it in the book as 671, and people can interpret it as they will, which
They
is
will.
good, I mean, because it's not something that's easily decided. A lot of our stuff is 1500, but every once in a while you get the odd ones, and this'll
But
just
if
be
we
that.
put in the book, no action, 671, that doesn't look like it's
No,
favorable.
that would be wrong, that would be incorrect, I'm sorry. Should be right.
Tom, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Ron?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you put in the book, no action 671, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
Right now it says favorable action 671. Normally what happens is you come back and somebody makes a motion for no action, and then the no action vote would show 761. So you have like an affirmative no action vote, if that makes sense. So you don't, it's unusual to look in the book and see a vote for favorable action with a negative vote next to it. It's just kind of quirky looking.
You know,
Susan?
the only situation to me that's somewhat comparable is on the senior center, where we voted, there were only 14 of us here, and it was a 7-7 vote.
Right.
We did not re-vote. It went to town meeting as 7-7, which is not a favorable action because you didn't have a majority.
Correct.
But we didn't have another vote to say no action, it just,
Point of information, it was a tie. And that's what went. Ron, back to you.
Thank you. I think there still is some confusion on what a tie vote actually means. I've always thought a tie vote is really a no vote if you're taking favorable action on something, because you can't proceed
exactly.
with a tie vote. Just, can I add a couple other things to what
Yes, of
Susan
course.
was saying? if I can remember. If you vote, I thought the other night the vote to reconsider passed, and we voted on your new motion.
Yes.
So that really, am I correct, Claire, through you, Mr. Chairman?
We,
Vote to reconsider did pass?
It
no,
did.
well,
No, the vote to
it
reconsider.
failed. Either,
Oh,
either,
The vote to
we took a vote, my recollection, we took a vote on his amended motion and it failed 11-1, I believe.
think
Well,
the
that
way it
failed,
should've
but there was a
gone-
vote before that.
The way
Sorry.
that should have gone was, it probably would have been more appropriate to ask for an amendment to the previous article, to the previous motion.
Right.
And ask the person
Excuse me.
who had made the first motion, can we amend your motion to make it borrowing instead? And you have a vote on that while that's on the floor. It just makes it cleaner, I guess. The other thing is when there's a vote for reconsideration, the only people that can bring up, and I don't know if everybody's aware, to bring up a vote for reconsideration, you have to be in the prevailing side. So you had to have been in the majority, otherwise we'd be here till sunup reconsidering things. I think you can only reconsider it one time, but
So, again, I don't mean to be belaboring this, but I think I would disagree that you would if there's a vote to reconsider, then what everyone is saying is, yeah, let's hear something else. Let's hear another idea. And when another motion was put out there, it was soundly defeated. That dissolves it. So it has no life at
Oh, yeah.
all.
Yeah, no,
But
I
I think
agree.
what we should do is maybe ask town council, since the senior center thing went in favorable action 770, you raise a good question. How should the book read? Should it be favorable action, as you say, with this odd, series of numbers? But I think since no one moved for no action, you're right, it can't be no action, and that's not anything that this body voted on. So I think we should just ask town council
Right.
how the book should read.
Right.
But I think we're
Right.
done with it, we
Yeah.
did it, we voted.
Right. So, point of information, the town administrator is here. Jim, do you have a point of view with the appropriate legal perspective to weigh in on this, or should we just continue to get clar- I'm sorry?
Texting town council as we speak.
Okay.
So, Get back to me before the meeting's over.
He's texting.
And you are welcome to sit at your normal spot if you so choose, Jim. Ron, yes.
just one more thing, not to beat this into the ground, but Susan brought up a point about, which is correct, having debate, usually it's motions made, seconded, and then it's open for debate. You open it up for debate. But it seems like when we have warrant articles, we need a vehicle to ask the people who are here, managers, proponents, whatever, sponsors, some way to speak to them outside of having a motion. Otherwise, you really wouldn't know what kind of motion you wanted to make without having enough information.
Right.
So I think we do give ourselves a little leeway there. And I agree totally with Susan about moving the question. I think that's just unnecessary, unless somebody really begs for it.
Yeah, so, so point of information, towards that end, please make sure you've raised your hand, and I've got you on the list if you want to speak. And that way, hopefully, you won't be overlooked if there's still some points in debate to be had before there's a motion for a vote and
Last thing,
a
while I
second.
have, while I have the floor, if you really want to get into the weeds about Robert's rules, you're allowed 2 go-rounds each during debate. And the first time you speak, you're not allowed to speak again until everybody's had a chance to speak for the first time.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And point of information, I think that's largely at the chairman's preference, but I agree, in fairness, hopefully people will speak once, give others a chance to speak, and then, we don't want to necessarily cut it off at 2 times if there's a back and forth and a lot of salient points to make. But by and large, yes, it's efficiency and fairness. is
Last
important.
time, promise. And again, along the lines of, I appreciate what Ron brings to this with knowledge of the rules, is that the proponent, the person who makes the motion, is entitled, if he or she wishes, to be the first speaker.
This is true. Yeah, point of information, I can go with that. Okay. All right, so, we haven't even, okay, good. So we actually jumped ahead, went out of order a little bit. And we've talked about Article 5. Article 5 is on our agenda. Those were the items that we were going to discuss with respect to Article 5. In my view, we're settled with our discussion. We'll wait further clarification from town council. But having said that, let's move on. And that will be Article 14, the firefighters' contract, which the town administrator will update us, but I believe there is no information for us to discuss at this point with respect to the firefighters' contract.
At this point, we're still in negotiations with the firefighters. They have quite a long list of asks. We're not able to meet those asks at this time, and I'm optimistic that maybe we could do something before town meeting, but I've informed them that the window is quickly shutting. So if there's anything more before town meeting, especially because the warrant allows us, I think it's 10 days to get the contract. We're required 10 days to get the changes in the hands of town meeting members. Unless they act this week and do something so I can present it to the selectmen at their next meeting, I just don't see it happening.
So Jim, what would be the ramifications of them, kind of missing that deadline with respect
Well, we
to the
still
town meeting
have,
schedule?
we'd have a placeholder under we don't even have what article number it would be. It would be in the spring, and that, at that time, I'd likely recommend that your committee, we have a motion to raise and appropriate money. We have money set aside, as we did in this past spring. Take that money and simply put it into some type of an account, and maybe treat it like a capital account or something like that. We'd just be able to park the money in case they go after retro, or in case they go to the JLMC, the Joint Labor Relations Board, and they're found the arbitrator finds in their favor. We'd have to pay back wages.
And what's the termination date of the existing contract in force?
It ended this past June.
Okay, so it's already expired and we're,
Yeah, all the
Operating
town
out.
contracts are all in the same cycle, with the exception of the dispatcher contract, because they're a newly formed group. We're in negotiations with them, and I expect we have to have something by next spring with them, hopefully. So the DPW at this time, they're set, they're ready to go, as you know, and you voted on it.
okay. All right, thank you. So I don't think there's anything to discuss here, as it's all preliminary, and Jim and team are working diligently to move that forward. Let's move on to Article 15, the water retained earnings. Excuse me. Yes,
Actually,
that's fine.
I'd make a motion that we recommend at town meeting on the firefighters' contract.
Second.
So it'll be in the book as a placeholder.
Yep, I second that motion. All those in favor of Finance Committee recommending our town meeting, our vote on Article 14, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Unanimous, let the record reflect unanimous vote, recommended town meeting on Article 14. All right, 15, water retained earnings. See if the town will vote to transfer $72,000 from Water Enterprise Fund, and it's been revised, it's now $74,000, thank you, to used as additional funding source for the FY18 Water Department operational budget, or take any action in relation thereto, petition of Water and Sewer Commission.
It's supposed to be here. Nine.
You're telling me, or asking me?
No, I'm telling you.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, thank you. One would think. Jim, are you prepared to speak on their behalf? or-
Sure, I can speak to it, and what the sewer and water commissioners are looking to do is take $74,000 from retained earnings. Why is the number changed? They want to have it exactly, the rates increased by 2.5% this year, and after doing the math, the extra 2,000 would get us to exactly 2.5%. They have a balance of, it was recently certified at just about $1.6 million. And that's the reason we've done this in the past. We did actually include retained earnings as part of the balancing process for both the sewer and water side, but the commissioners decided they wanted to give the ratepayers a little bit more. And at this time, if the funds can withstand it, I'd recommend favorable action.
Is there any further debate, comment on Article 15? Mr. Bowman?
I'll move favorable action for $74,000 from retained earnings.
Let's just give anyone a chance for any questions. I know we said we're gonna, I just don't
Need a
wanna.
second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of favorable action on Article 15 as stated in the town warrant, transferring $74,000 from retained earnings to the department operational budget, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The record show unanimous vote, favorable action on Article 15.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The next few articles relating to the zoning articles, I know your committee has Liz Dennehy, our Community Development Director, and David Norton in a few weeks ago. I believe they outlined and addressed your questions. I know the public hearing for the planning board is not until the beginning of October. In the past, you've done it one or two ways. You've recommended action at town meeting, or you've taken favorable action on, or decided not to act on these. So it's ultimately your committee's call what you want to do.
Yeah, so let me just say a few words. Yeah, so in my view, and we'll certainly solicit other opinions, my view of these articles, that they're benign and straightforward enough that I feel comfortable if the committee decides in favor of voting tonight. I'm open to that. Conversely, if we need more expert information and more detail, I'm open to that as well. So, with that being said, I'll put it out there for a comment. Mark?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what's the likelihood they're going to change language like they've done the past couple of years on any of these items?
I wouldn't bet against it, but as far as I know right now, I've spoken briefly to the chairman about this. He's comfortable with them as is, the chairman of the planning board, that is.
I mean, we can go through them one by one. We wouldn't vote them all together, and certainly that'll give us a chance to request a vote at a later time if we choose to. We're eager to complete some of our responsibilities here and get some votes in. Anyone feel any objections to proceeding article by article? Tom, is your hand up?
I was just gonna say, I don't really feel very strongly one way or the other, but I'll make a motion for favorable action. If we do stuff now, it'll make it easier for Claire if we've got everything all voted on early rather than voting
Is that
everything.
favorable action?
Favorable action, yeah.
Second?
On
Article 16.
second?
Yep.
Susan.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Susan. All those in favor of Article 16 to amend the Walpole zoning bylaws as followed in your warrant article, please raise your hand. Keep the hands raised. It looks to be unanimous. It's an easy one.
All right.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Article 17, again, zoning. This has to do with our zoning bylaws adding new restrictions or new language about recreational marijuana establishments. Any debate and comment with respect to Article 17? Tom?
I'll move favorable action on Article 17.
Second?
Very good. All those in favor of Article 17, amending the town's zoning bylaws with respect to recreational marijuana establishments, please raise your hand. And, okay, it looks to be unanimous, right? All right.
Cruising along.
Excellent. And I'll skip with the hands if we're going this way. All right. Moving on, Article 18, zoning overlay map, revising the boundaries, district entitled large-scale ground-mounted solar voltaic overlay with respect to North Street, Assessor's Map 33, 34, 35, 36. This one may be more debatable or subject to discussion. Mark?
Actually, through you, just confirming that lot 34 was the one that was being deleted
No.
from the language?
No, I believe it was
A misprint.
Transposed.
it's the one across the street.
43, okay, that's what I was asking,
Yeah.
because the printout came out as 34.
Yeah, it's 43 that
So
was
so the
deleted.
language of the article is 33, 34, 35, and 36. 43 is deleted.
And I've spoken to the Norfolk County Commissioner's Office. They're comfortable with it. They understand where my concerns were with it, and they decided to only submit the paperwork for the up to 36, not 43.
Mr. Leith?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, I just wanted to, hearkening back to the conversation we had a few weeks ago, I just wanted to confirm my understanding from that conversation that passing this, if we were to pass this, the town still retains the right to determine where on the parcels the field of, whatever you want to call them.
Yes, it would
are
be, not the
located.
town, it'd be the Land Use Board's Planning Zoning Board.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's.
they have to go through those processes.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Dick?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend favorable action on 18.
Second?
Second.
I'll give it to Mark.
Sure.
He looked eager on that one.
Excellent, thank you. All right, all those in favor of Article 18, to see if the town will amend its zoning overlay map with respect to the large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic overlay district, as further described in the town warrant, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, let the record reflect the unanimous vote on Article 18. Moving on, Article 19, which is amend the voting bylaws with respect to parking regulations, location of spaces. This has to do with the tandem parking issues. Any debate or comment on Article 19? There being none?
I move favorable action on Article 19.
Second?
Thank you. With a motion and a second, all those in favor of Article 19, amending the zoning bylaws with respect to parking, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous. 19. Excellent. All right, moving on to Article 20. Again, amend the zoning bylaws. This was in respect to the moratorium. This is the one-year moratorium of construction in the central business district with respect to existing multifamily housing within said district. This will allow the town to study the effects of the 344 residential units that are under construction and taking the option to possibly extend the moratorium if this so passes. Open it up for comment, debate, questions? Ron, please, thank you.
Jim, I'm just curious the way this article is written. It looks like it has an action plan in there as part of the article, is it?
I believe that Joe Moraski was involved in this drafting of this article, and you may recall that, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, Joe got up and wanted to have some type of action plan and a moratorium we had in there, so it doesn't surprise me that there's an action plan in there, and I'm sure that the planning board and Liz will, and the building office will be involved in that
So
plan.
this language has been approved, all this,
Yeah, the council, this has been vetted by
Okay.
council, yep.
thank you.
Point of information, said action plan, where is it? Is it here in the article, or is it?
I was just commenting on the way the article is written. It's kind of funny. Usually it's just
Moratorium, and
it's a moratorium, period, end of article. This has a lot of
this
extra language.
expands upon it.
Yeah.
Could you, maybe I'm not drawing them out, could you identify the key actions, in the action plan?
Honestly, I'm just reading it right now. I haven't read it in a couple weeks
Right.
since August.
Right.
But it's the notwithstanding any other provision of this bylaw, the town hereby establishes a moratorium for a period of 1 year through the fall of 2018 in the construction of a new multifamily housing in the central business district. This moratorium shall exclude improvements to existing multifamily houses within said district. The purpose of this moratorium is to study the effects of the overall impact of the two recently permitted multifamily housing developments in the central business district with respect to motor and vehicle, pedestrian traffic, parking, and utilities. These two recently approved multifamily developments will be adding approximately 344 residential units to the town's central business district. The community development and two planning board members, this is where it gets into it, will reevaluate the progress of the aforementioned projects prior to the 2018 town meeting and present findings and potential further restrictions. So that's what, a few years ago, Joe didn't like, that it just sits out there. Who's going to be in charge of actually evaluating this? So those last few lines there develop that.
Thank you. Mark?
Well, no, I was just going to clarify.
I'm
that-
sorry, pardon me, Andrew
Yeah.
was up previously, sorry, Andrew?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you, to Town Administrator. This is a difficult question to ask you because I think it would pertain more to the Planning Board, but ahead of their public hearing, do you think there would be any chance they would change the actual duration of the moratorium before town meeting?
I honestly don't see them doing that because the last one we did, it was only for a year. I think we're only allowed, and that was in regards, I think it was open space development. I think we're only allowed to do it for a year and then reevaluate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. And the last comment I'll make is, I mentioned this the night Liz and the planning board members were here, is I support this article. I just am concerned that the study being focused only on pedestrian traffic, parking and utilities, and not also studying the future affordable housing needs and the density needs of the town, even though it's only with respect to the central business district, that the commission or committee studying this during the moratorium could come to some anti-density conclusions, because they're not studying the full scope of the issue. So I support it, but I just want to raise this point, especially if they were to ever amend the article at the public hearing or after the public hearing. But as of now, I support it, and it's just a point to be made about other municipalities in this country who've taken moratoriums for 1 year and keep extending them because it sounds popular in theory, but then it worsens your affordable housing problem in the long run. So that's the only comment I'll make. Thank you.
So just a point of information, Jim, can you advise Andrew the best way to pursue his concerns and point of view? He's
I think,
got some valid.
and not to put it back on you, but I think the best way to relay your concerns would be to the planning board. They're the ones who are bringing this forward. This is something that I know is near and dear to Joe Moraski's heart. It's important to him, and obviously the other members, but this is something that I'd reach out to Joe. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I think the reason we actually had council weigh in on this with regards to zoning bylaws was moratoriums, if you set a too long a period, you don't get a chance to extend it. And they said, you could come out and say, yeah, we're going to put a 5-year moratorium. But then if you don't do anything with it, you can't extend. You can do 1 year, as long as you're showing progress in making action go forward. And Joe Moraski's one is like, I want to see action. So do it for a year, show me you're making progress, we'll up it for another year, and finalize your findings. So the 1 year makes sense, and yeah, I agree that, there's a bigger picture here, but I think to make it too large, you're not going to get any findings at the end of 1 year. You could turn around and say, when we extend it, expand your search for the second year to incorporate other things that are popping up.
Thank you. I think Dick was next, right?
Yeah,
Are
I'd
you
like
you have
to,
something? Okay, Dick, go ahead.
consider what Andrew said, because I think it's very good. I think we need, as a community, to address the affordable housing. I know that we asked them when they're here, Jack and Liz, and they didn't think it was probably the right vehicle, but I do think that we need to have dialogue within the town. I'm not sure what Jim's suggesting that Andrew do, but I'd be willing to track along with that.
Thank you. Paul?
Actually, through you, Mr. Chairman, actually, I have a dumb question. When does the year start after construction's done? Because didn't David make a comment like, yeah, it's 1 year, but it's not even gonna be, being, built yet? So
The
they
year
may need
starts
to.
from, or whatever day in October we approve this, it says we have to come back at the 2018 Fall Town Meeting.
I'm curious if the study will show what 600 cars impact the downtown area and the people of Robbins Road and Kendall Street, how they're gonna feel about it, because everybody's gonna find a different way to get home. I mean, this is just gonna be a bit of a mess,
Josette?
Not only that, but the construction will not be completed within that year.
Yeah.
You know, when you really look at it, they haven't started yet. So my other, to go with Andrew and Dick, would be, we have so much construction going on in this town, not exclusive down in the central business district, that the water with 3 hotels and 40Bs and what's going on in central business, Walpole Woodworkers, there's just so much going on in this town that I personally would like to have seen a halt on everything for a period of time so that we can catch up with all the permits that have been given out to see what the impact of all of that's gonna have, not only on our utilities and stuff, but our school systems.
Thank you. Anyone, Ron?
Move favorable action on Article 20.
Second.
I think Andrew beat you, Dick. We're gonna give it to the new kid, okay?
Okay.
There be a motion and a second on Article 20. All those in favor for favorable action on Article 20 with respect to the zoning bylaws and the moratorium on the building in the central business district, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The record reflect a unanimous vote on Article 20. Thank you. All right, moving along to Article 21. Again, amending the zoning bylaws. This is with respect to parking regulations and baseline parking calculations, deleting some language, I guess cleaning up the language. Any debate or comment on Article 21? There being none, do we have, Mark?
Favorable action on Article 21?
Second?
Thank you. There being a motion and a second for action on Article 21. All those in favor of favorable action on Article 21 with respect to baseline parking calculation, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Again, unanimous favorable action on Article 21. Moving on to Article 22. Again, amending the zoning bylaws, special conditions, additional height limitations near sidelines in residential districts. So striking out the section in its entirety and reserving the section for future use. Any debate, comment, questions on Article 22? Dick?
I move for favorable action on Article 22. Ahead of Mr. Travell.
I'll second it.
And we got the second. We got a motion, we got a second. All those in favor of favorable action on Article 22 with regard to the additional height limitations, deleting the section in its entirety, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous on Article 22. Brings us to Article 23. This is accepting a street called Chieftain Way as a public way from its beginning, as laid out by the Board of Selectmen and as shown on a plan or plans on file with the Office of the Town Clerk. Believe we had presentation and explanation as to the merits and the reasons behind this article at a previous meeting. Let's open it up for any comments or discussion. Okay.
I move favorable action on Article 23.
Second?
Seeing a pattern, loving it.
There being a motion with a second for a vote. All those in favor of Article 23, accepting Chieftain Way as a public way, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, unanimous on 23. Moves on to Article 24. Again, vote to accept La Cavita Drive as a public way.
Let's see if it
So, the Civita, thank you.
Civita.
Must be, it looks Italian, all right. All right, we'll open it up for discussion, comments, or questions on the Civita Drive.
I move favorable action on, on number 24, Article 24 for the street acceptance.
That's seconded.
All right, there being a motion, there being a second. All those in favor of favorable action, Article 24, to vote to accept the Civita Drive as a public way, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent, great progress. You guys are doing great.
All right.
Unanimous on 24. All right, 25. This is with regards petition of the Board of Sewer and Water to release in part a sewer easement conveyed to the town by grant of sewer easement recorded with the Norfolk Registry of Deeds, which easement being released affects solely the parcel of land. So, any discussion or questions or comments on Article 25? Anyone have a point of view? Susan?
So, has the board, Sewer and Water Commissioners come and presented on this article? We haven't.
Not, I don't believe so, not that I can recall, no.
No, if I could, Mr. Chairman, Chris Johnson, the Assistant Town Engineer, he did, as part of his maps, he covered this easement, and he diagrammed as to where it was gonna be.
Thank you.
That's really it.
Thank you, I stand corrected, yep. Mark.
Susan, for your information, I think that was the night you weren't here, there was an easement placed through a plot, and they've gone and basically abandoned all the sewage and piping under that plot, excavated it out, and now they're just releasing the easement, so it becomes a functional lot again.
Thank you, thank you.
So, I think.
I make a motion for favorable action on that article number 1.
25.
Second.
For O'Brien.
Thank you. There being a motion and a second. All those in favor for favorable action of Article 25 to authorize the Board of Sewer to release a sewer easement as discussed and further described in the town warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Let the record reflect unanimous consent for favorable action. All right. Article 26, authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire a gift, an easement to use as a private way. Easement approximately 24 feet wide, shown approximately as Eastover Road on a plan entitled Exhibit Easement Plan of Land prepared by Gloss Engineering dated April 28, 2017. Any debate, questions? I believe this, again, was presented to us that same evening by a member of the, is that?
Part of the same drawing.
Engineering, okay, thank you. Any further question or clarification? Dick?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, I've never really been able to put my arms around this one.
Well, this came up, Eastover Road's right over here, right across from Walpole Woodworkers. This is one of those funky subdivisions that was approved under the prior building commissioner just after Jack Mee, who only stayed about a year. His interpretation was that a formal site plan wasn't needed. They didn't need to go before the zoning board. It was approved. However, it needed to come back before the selectmen as the road commissioners to open up the road. So the selectmen expressed concern over not having an easement for trash pickup, trash turnaround. The ladder truck or fire trucks going down there, they requested some type of an easement. Their council got together with our council, so we have an easement to pass over that road at the end of Eastover that's being developed in there.
The question I had is, I was actually acting chair for Jack. He was out of town that day. I opened a hearing, a public hearing, for Mr. Marini on this particular project, and it's been a controversial project for years because of some wetland issues and how they were gonna get the water there. At the very next meeting, with no explanation, the applicant withdrew, and I never was able to. Jim told me last time, and now I'm getting a better feel for what happened. They circumvented the planning cycle by getting what was a favorable ruling for them from a building commissioner who's no longer here.
and just let me follow up on that one. That's similar to what is happening down at Burns Ave. There's a smaller development, I think it's 12 houses or so. They're not required to go before, this is why that, I think it was the second night of town meeting, took so long for John Hassenjager, Joe, the planning board chairman, Jack Conroy, town council to get together to try to hash out some language that addresses that, because right now, or it used to be, there was just a real void there.
Well, we had some heated debate ourselves on Article 31. I was against doing it because town council had not even reviewed it, and I guess that turned out that it did mess up town meeting. But I do think, I don't know whether it's probably not this body, but I do think there's some zoning issues, and we really need to take a hard look at the total zoning for the town, because I know when I first joined the planning board in 2010, they had done a complete rewrite, but then at the last minute they pulled it because it was really a poorly written zoning book change that they were going to make. But nothing has really, I tried to affect change. I know Jack tries to. It's very difficult. And I think we need to make that a number one priority, because it isn't really fair that these developers circumvent the system and I think it involves Jack at Burns Ave. And this one up here off of Eastover, a lot of the neighbors had no clue what was happening, and we couldn't tell them.
Ed?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, do you see any similarities between the Burns Ave situation and Eastover Road easement? Is there similarities in terms of the access to the developments? Because I understand that the Burns Ave development, actually, there is a, the road ends at Burns Avenue, and then there is a
Paper road.
It's a paper road, exactly. It's a paper road that goes to the proposed site where these 12 units are gonna go up. Is there any similarities in terms of the conditions of both?
Yes, there are similarities. It's a couple-fold. Similarities, Eastover Road was a quiet dead-end street, same with Burns Ave currently.
Right.
There is a paper road, I think it's Gay Ave or Gay Street, that runs right next to there, that the developer has already said, I can use that as an access if you don't grant me access through Burns Ave. Burns Ave and Eastover are going to be essentially looped or dead ends. Burns Ave is not going to go off to some other side street in East Walpole. And the neighborhood is not very much in favor in Burns Ave. I believe it was the same case on Eastover. Similar size project, I think 12, 13 houses, something like that. This one is not going before the Burns Ave is not going before the planning board. It was on there as a site plan, it was pulled off. So there are some similarities there.
So why was the Burns Avenue project pulled from the planning board?
Because they found this loophole this is my understanding, they found the Eastover Road loophole, and they decided to pursue that option.
Got it. Thank you.
Can anyone address, so what are the pitfalls of favorable action on this article, or the benefits? It's a little murky to me, and I need some help.
Dick, what do you think?
Just my thoughts on this one, it's at the selectmen's request, this project's going in, this just gives us permission. That's a very small road down there, the trucks.
It's already
for
in.
the developer's willing to grant it, it just allows our
Yeah.
larger trucks to turn around there.
Yeah, so this is after the fact.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve Article 26. I have 27 in my draft.
It's 26.
Yes,
It's 26 now, though, right? Is that how?
Yeah,
That's how I
Must
got
have an old
screwed up
draft.
before.
There was an article that was deleted.
Favorable action.
Yep.
I'll
We have a
sec- I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. We're going to take a vote. All those in favor of Article 26, with respect to the Board of Selectmen acquiring by easement the Eastover Road, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? One opposition. Any
Ed.
Ed is no?
Ed?
Yep. Any abstentions?
14-1-0.
Okay, 14-1. Thank you. All right. That's Article 26. So that brings us to the next, Article 29 is on our agenda, but there may have been some miscommunication. Sorry?
We have to vote recommendation at town meeting on that?
Thank you. You're right. Thank you for reminding me, Claire. Right. We haven't, this hasn't been presented to us or explained to us, so the motion is to recommend at town meeting.
She's coming in Monday?
Yeah, she'll be here Monday. The sponsor of Article 28 and 29 are expected to be here Monday to tell us more about things.
Point of clarification, when we say we move to vote it to town meeting, and then people, representatives of these warrant articles are coming to speak to us,
Yeah.
does that mean we won't vote on the article, after they speak with us, or?
We, no,
What does it mean?
if I may, it's the opposite. We'd definitely wait and hear what they have to say. But we will be in, rather than our vote going in the booklet that gets mailed out to everyone, it won't become public knowledge until either our public hearing or at town meeting officially is when we present our vote.
Gotcha.
But we certainly,
Mr. Chairman, just to
Thank
follow
you.
up, we
Yeah.
will include your updated vote in the packets that are sent out to town meeting members at the beginning of October, so they'll have that in hand.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry, Jim, could you clarify that for me again?
So
My letter
you're-
is, so the timing, right? So the chairman's letter is due in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And we need to allow 2 weeks for print.
But that's the
printing.
warrant that's sent to
Warrant,
the
correct, yes. Yep.
9,000 houses or
Yeah.
so. The packet that's sent out to each town meeting member,
Right.
we also include like a cheat sheet.
Yeah.
It's just one sheet that'll say, Article 27, favorable
Thank you,
action,
thank you.
whatever.
RTMs, I'm with you. I get it. Yep, thank you. All right, good.
Hopefully he voted.
All right, so we're good there. Article 5, we've already taken care of that.
We did.
Sorry, we didn't take the vote?
I made the motion for recommendation up here. Who's
Second.
Just to
second?
follow up,
Right.
I did get a response from council, and I want to read it to all of you.
Can we finish the vote?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
There we
I'll
go.
probably- I'll probably lose track.
Yeah.
29, recommendation at town meeting.
Yep,
Seconded
thank
by
you.
Susan.
Yep, so there being a motion, a second on Article 29 to take our vote or announce our vote at town meeting. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Let the record reflect the
The
unanimous.
other first.
vote at town meeting. I'm sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Okay, so council listed out a couple of quick options for us. The committee can either say recommendation at town meeting, you could list the votes taken, or simply say no recommendation, no recommended action, or the last one, they could of course simply vote on a new motion for no action to formalize their earlier votes. So 4 options there. Recommendation at town meeting, which I believe you guys do not want to do. You could list the votes taken, which you could just simply do what we have in the packet, which I know Claire doesn't like, but say no recommended action, or take another vote that says no action. So you could leave it as is.
All right. As chairman, I would be in favor of just listing the votes taken. That would be my preference. Susan?
I was gonna say, the problem with, I'm okay with that, but I think Ron raised a valid point that it's confusing to see favorable action, and then when you do the math, looks like we can't count. So maybe if the book said no recommended action, that would make, with the votes. So that would be clearer.
I think so.
I'm just going for clarity here. Doesn't change the substance in any way.
Other thoughts?
I agree.
I'd be in favor of that. So do we go for it?
No, just the matter of how the
The
book is.
language.
How Claire writes it?
Clarification.
And how, I mean, ultimately, if the chairman's comfortable with that, so
So what does the language say? That
it
we
would just say articles, whatever it is, 5, no recommended action.
and then have the.
And
vote.
what is the vote, and is there a vote tally for the vote tally for the no recommended action?
Yeah, it's 761.
Or 671? Or-
761.
It's not-
It was 6-7.
Right,
Right.
Yeah, but then that looks,
Yeah,
I
but
know what
the-
John's saying.
right, I just, I
It
don't want
sounds
to, I don't want to
confusing.
twist the vote to,
Yeah.
On the
It is
other
what it
hand-
is.
You could specify, the vote failed. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
specify it where?
Yeah, right
But
on
isn't
the
it,
the note.
if you say it's unfavorable action, isn't, then you reverse it?
No, no
769?
recommend.
Mr. Bowen?
I'd say we just not make this overly complicated.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yep.
If the 150 people can't figure out, then we've got much bigger issues. It just, a vote
And-
came, it
Point of
And-
action.
and so-
divided, and we move on and debate it.
And so what do you, of these four options, which one are you?
Leave it as is, you note there was no
Leave it as
real
is.
vote, and it's gonna be, this is a clear indication to town meeting that
There's going to be.
there'll be some discussion. It'll go one way or the other. We can handle this.
Pat?
Sure, following up on Tom's point, I agree, just report the facts. What we've typically done in town meeting when there's not a unanimous vote, they'll allow kind of one side to speak and then the other side speaks, and they explain kind of what the concerns were of the finance committee, and share that with the town meeting members. And I think that's what we should do in this
Right.
situation.
So
Right.
point of information, I agree with the recommendations, and so and if we agree
Have a
that's what we
motion.
want to do.
Point of
let's-
order. Do we have a motion on the floor right now?
No,
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 let's not get too picky on the
no, there's,
got the cheat sheet.
no, there isn't, it's a discussion.
Oh, I thought there was a motion.
No, we already
Sorry.
voted.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
My point would just be, we would appoint 2 or 3 members to present one side of the vote, and then 2 or 3 members to present, the other side of the vote, which typically would go through the chairman, but. Yeah, Mark.
I just recommend the language, favorable action failed 671.
That works for me.
It gets the
Yeah.
vote out, and it
Right.
says that favorable action failed,
Yeah,
and
I
that was the
agree.
vote.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Easy math.
Thank you. Everyone good?
Yeah, I would second that if we're gonna take a vote on it, but I would also say, John, that I think, at town meeting, I don't think having a whole panel discussion, I think one person the chair
Yeah.
should speak, and then another person for the other side, but not 2 or 3 people, I think would just become.
Right, no, I agree with you. I was saying that perhaps 2 or 3 people could get together and distill the points to be made by the chairman and the other person, that's all. But yes, not have 6 people up there.
Keep it
Or
simple.
just, because not everybody might be at town meeting, so if there's, one of the 6 or that's gonna be there and they feel comfortable raising their hand and the moderator recognizes them and then they can speak on our behalf, I think that's totally cool. And
Yeah.
the other side. See, I abstained, so I get to be quiet.
To do it, like typically, when the finance committee chair is asked for the vote, you give the vote.
Right.
And then usually someone will say, well, what did the other side,
Dissenting
Sure.
opinion,
right.
Sure,
So
okay.
even the chair could do that, and
Sure.
then RTMs feel free, and they always do to chime in,
Cool,
and speak their own
Okay.
piece.
good. So we've got the updated language. I don't think we need to vote.
no,
We just, okay,
we're
good.
just clarifying.
Clarification.
Claire's got it.
All right, excellent. All right, I believe,
28,
What about
I'm sorry?
Article 7?
28, the resolution?
For recommendation of
well, we're
town-
skipping, well, we have 7 here on the agenda.
Okay.
So I'm prepared to further discuss Article 7,
Yeah.
is with respect to OPED and the amount of money to transfer into OPEB. I believe the suggestion thus far is $100,000, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
Okay, $100,000. So let's, yes,
I'm gonna move for favorable action on Article 7. I think the amount is
$100,000.
$100,000 from free cash into OPEB.
I second.
okay, we
Right,
have a motion.
Laura.
Yes. Get Laura in there.
I forgot to raise my hand first.
Your hand's up, Mark, so, and it was up.
For questions. Jim, do we have an update as to when that report's gonna be done? I know you said they were working on it and we were gonna have it done soon.
I expect that it'll be done, I believe a draft's gonna be completed by the end of next week, that's what he said, and then we'll present it to the selectmen and of course you folks, so,
Can we be invited to that
of course,
presentation?
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, there being a motion and a second for favorable action on Article 7, I'm sorry? Transferring $100,000 into OPEB. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Okay, so we have a no
I'm gonna be a
on
no.
Ron.
I'm a no.
Got two no's.
Two no's, I'm sorry. Mr. Leith, Mr. Mariani. Any abstentions?
2-0.
Okay. So 13-2. Thank you.
All we got is 20.
And 28 again, so again, we're gonna take hearings on Monday. So I think we need
Recommendation at town meeting?
recommendations.
Second recommendation.
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
for what?
Yes,
Yeah,
John?
I just want to slip this in illegally and say that I'm all in favor of Article 7. I just think the number should be higher than that, and I want to be on record for saying that. So I'm all in favor of building that up, but I'm saying, voting no because it should be higher, that's all.
All right, and you would like Claire to reflect that in the minutes?
Yeah, I would,
Usually it's
actually.
not- Personal comments usually aren't attributable, but.
Through you, I missed what you just said. What's happening Monday?
So Monday we have a meeting, and the sponsors of 28 and 29 will be,
Oh, both those, okay.
yep, telling us about their articles.
Mr. Chairman, I have a request, as far as Monday night also. Article 2, that's the in-year budget adjustments, and I'm just kind of springing this on this, all of you right now, because we recently learned of this. The chief was awarded, what kind of grant was it? It's an Assistance to Firefighters grant that basically covers the cost, all costs associated with training and overtime expenses for bringing your firefighters, basically.
For rescue training for our firefighters if they get in trouble inside of a building to self-rescue, and it's also Mayday training in order to go and rescue our own.
Why am
40
I,
hours of training for all 36 members of the department.
Wow.
It's a $92,000 grant, but there's a $9,562 match from the town that's required.
and I'm bringing this up now because we'd like to make this, we recently learned of it. We have enough time with the fall town meeting. We talked about the ambulance funds last week. I'd like to make a request or change my recommendation to modify the fire department item from 10,000 up to 19,000, whatever the chief, 19,806, to get them up there. And if you'd like to formally consider that at your next meeting, your call, but I just want to bring this up now so we're not all scrambling in October to talk about it.
Thank you, thank you. Great job on securing the funds. That's excellent. And just to clarify, so the grant has been awarded. We are getting the $92,000.
Yes,
We will, yeah, as long as we come up with the match.
and I wanted, I was
And what's
waiting.
the timing with respect to the reimbursement or the grant money?
I have 30 days to accept.
Yep.
And we have to use it within a year. And the clock has already started on the year.
Right.
That won't be an issue.
No ambulance.
Right.
So I was waiting to bring this before your committee because we wanted the selectmen's blessing, which we received at the last meeting, to go forward with it.
So excuse me, and we'll get to, so the way the grant works is you'll attend this training, and then you'll receive funds from the government to then pay who's ever doing the training, or to pay your cost of salaries and so forth. Help me.
It's all inclusive. They pay for everything, the cost of the course, the overtime, as well as all the transportation.
Right,
The training will be done at the Boswell Fire Academy in
Yeah.
Hyannis.
right.
And we will be transported to and from here.
Okay, so again, all those expenses, the town will be paying all those initial expenses directly, salaries and training, et cetera, then we'll be reimbursed by this grant, and we may get the grant up front. Sounds like we could get it up front, and then, okay, then disperse the funds. Yep, okay, thank you.
I'll have this in writing for you for next week as well.
Okay, Tom?
Just assuming we're not gonna say no to the grant, should we consider it tonight to change it so it's in the book and we give everyone the most up-to-date info? Or?
Not on the agenda.
Can
We put it on the,
No, we'll put it on the agenda for,
I mean, I mean, I think we can, yeah, it's a good point, we can discuss that. I don't know if this qualifies as an emergency or a time-sensitive, it's probably not, so.
No,
to-
because it's just trying to get the info in the
Right.
book, but, so that's not an emergency.
Right,
but,
sure. Yeah.
Could you make the
Mark next,
argument
or-
that
sorry.
firefighter's contract is on there, you have the note on there, you also have me on there? Your
Oh, I
call.
don't want to make the argument.
No, I
I
don't.
mean,
Yeah.
if it was simple, then yes.
Yeah.
but-
We'll have
It's gonna happen.
paperwork in writing.
So the process will be, the book will go to press with our current vote so that the other placeholders know they're still good.
Yeah.
And then we'll vote to reconsider the fire department budget item only, and then revote that item separately after we hear the presentation with the final numbers.
Okay, that works for us.
And just point of information and learning, so if there wasn't an existing article dealing with the fire expenses, how would you handle this at this stage of the game if there wasn't something to it?
Honestly, if we could have handled it one or two ways off the top of my head. If it was after the middle of October and town meeting was past us, we could either just pass on the grant or come to you people and ask for a reserve fund transfer, or ask for a reserve fund, or just simply explain it to you folks with the understanding that in May, under Article 2, I think it is, the in-year budget adjustments for the end of the year, address it then, so that, just like we did with the fire hose money
Right.
some time ago, where we knew that Tim needed those hoses, he had the money in his budget, but we knew he was probably gonna run short. So I'm guessing now that I talked through it, I'd probably go with option 3.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll add this to the agenda for Monday discussion, possible voting. Claire, thank you. Yes, sir.
I think we still had an open vote on 28, because Mark suggested to go to town meeting, we didn't, or did we?
We didn't finish that.
Wait.
Okay, so, right, so let's vote on Article 28 to recommend at town meeting. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Any abstentions? It is a vote. Thank you, Stas.
That's for all the,
Who seconded?
well, we have all of them on file.
Second 28, I forgot.
I think I did.
I think you did.
Mark and Susan?
All right, so I think we're done.
Yep, we do have the town administrator here for an agenda item, Jim, and then we have minutes. So, Jim, is there anything else that you want to talk to us about?
No, I just kind of thought of that one off the cuff.
Okay.
Everything else is proceeding, we're going to print. I know, thank you for getting your votes done. Claire's been on me to get my letter in. I'm sure she's done the same to you, Mr. Chairman. Those will be in there. And we are working on the packets, and we'll have those in plenty of time for town meeting members in the beginning of October.
So, point of information, does anyone do a proof of my letter? I've made good progress on it. I'm just curious whether someone else will look at it, make sure they're on
Jim
it.
looks at it and
Generally, in the past,
I look at it.
we've sent it to Jody and Marilyn too, just to review all the numbers and everything, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, yes, so there's correspondence. I'm not aware that we have any correspondence, so we go to minutes of September 11th, 2007. The minutes were circulated recently. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes, and is there any comments or changes? I read them, found them to be extraordinary and fine.
Awesome,
John, I had Ron.
copious and voluminous.
Yeah, that was the one thing.
We correct.
Yeah.
I had him
Right.
abstain.
So, right, okay, so you are reissuing a corrected version with,
Well, if anybody wants it.
Tonight's package is the right version.
Does
I
it?
think, I keep being offered this suggestion that I should have.
I was just double checking for that vote, and I'm trying to
I
remember
did.
which article it was.
I think I did change it.
all right, so long as the current version reflects John's correct vote. Do I have a motion?
I move favorable action on the minutes, or acceptance of the minutes, September 11th.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of the September 11th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? There's unanimous vote.
Mr.
And
Chairman, I had a
Yes.
question. So, through you to Jim, so the OPEB report's being done, what's gonna be the mechanism or the forum, or how are we all gonna get together to hear, anyone who wants?
Well, the day I suggested that, I actually asked Marilyn to reach out to the auditor or person developing it, and make sure that they set us, she asked him to reserve the 3 Tuesdays between now and town meeting that the selectmen we're not meeting on, and we were gonna book space over in the community room where we were last week, and just more or less, instead of you or John asking myself and Marilyn questions, we'd like to get you the report before then, give you some time to review it, and then ask you questions. Marilyn and I will probably give a brief introduction. This is such and such. He's reviewed it. He's done our actuarial study of our OPEB. Here's where we're at, and just open it up to questions if that makes sense.
So, so it would be akin to a town hall meeting with others besides finance committee?
It'd be technically an open meeting, because I'd ask Claire to post it for you guys. We post it for selectmen. And, yeah, well, if other residents wanted to come and ask questions, it'd be okay with me, so.
So no official business of finance committee? It's an
No, it would
open
be-
meeting, informational?
I envision it like I'd probably be the moderator, to take the questions and then up through the
Information.
auditor, yeah.
Andrew?
Just point of clarification, you said the next 3 Tuesdays at the community room, we don't know the date yet, though?
Yeah, we don't have the
Gotcha,
date yet.
just
I did
clarifying. Thanks.
the Tuesdays between now and town meeting where the selectmen are not meeting.
Will it be recorded and available online in case we can't make it?
I will, that's one of the reasons I want to have it over there. I gotta make sure Pete and Walpole Media can do it.
It's already in the paper.
We haven't booked it yet.
You get enough on your plate.
No, but it's already in the paper.
If Clarion has the
Yeah.
All right, do we have one final motion?
motion to adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor of adjourning our finance committee meeting September 18th, 2017, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it is a vote. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks.